convenient job. No, she got not the Peace Prize, the Literature Prize. But the thing was, he told me he was a pupil in a class in Fredrikstad, which is a city in Norway, and they had a teacher which had the name Sergeant Jacobsen. What is that? A teacher with a military degree? Sergeant. Yeah? Sergeant. Yeah. What is this? This was the first thing he said. This man was a mystery. Where did he come from? And then he told me, and we remember nothing from that teacher except of marching. There were only boys in the class, and we had to stand 2 and 2, and then we were marching. That's what we did. Yeah. And then once something happened during the war, Norway was occupied by the Nazis. And then they went on a sidewalk, this class, and marching, and suddenly he said, what is it in English? Stop! Or what do you say?
Halt.
Halt. Halt. You say the German word. Ah, it's interesting. Halt! He said, boom! They looked what's going on, and the thing was, on the same sidewalk, a German troop came towards them. And now they were on the sidewalk, and they were also, and the sidewalk was not big enough for both. So those two officers went to each other to negotiate. Who shall leave the sidewalk? And then it ended up by the Germans leaving the sidewalk. They went out in the street, and he told me this moment when they were these boys, this mystery, you know. And from that time, this Sergeant Jacobsen became even more enigmatic. And then there was the last school year, class 7, happy children, only 7 years. And class 7, they had a school trip to Lillehammer, which you have heard about. That's the only city no one has heard about. They went, and it was, of course, the school trip was to march to the railway station, and to drive to Lillehammer, and to march in Lillehammer. That was one of the thing. And then on that walk, suddenly he said, halt! Once more, and then he said something in addition. He said, off with the hats. Take off your hats. And then this is a kind of a sacred thing to do. And they didn't know what now. And then he pointed at the garden and an old wooden house in this garden. And then he said, here lives Sigrid Undset, this writer. No one of the children ever heard about her. They didn't know. And he told, and then he said, the teacher said, yeah, put on the hats again. And then we continued. And he said, this moment was the only lesson we got in literature in this school. We never got anything else. But the interesting thing he said is that more than half of this class became writing people. Became fascinated. And he says, I am convinced it is because of this teacher. I'm convinced because he created a mystery for us. Suddenly, in one moment, this stone-faced officer, in one moment, he stopped. And there was a reason to show respect. And he opened a little room, a little door into his... Probably there was a soul inside, or something. A mystery. And then he said, and you know what? We had to find out. The key was Sigrid Undset. It was just a name. But it made us reading people. This I mentioned for you because it's somehow an anti-pedagogical story. Somehow it's a story about releasing an energy which is in the children. Not to all the time want to control these things, but to have this braveness. We said for a joke, creativity is anarchy, and it is a little bit. It's a little bit. We have to release these powers. In my work, I see far too many young adult people or old youngsters which have lost the curiosity, they have lost the joy of life, they have lost all this, because the energy stream is opposite. You know, instead of release them and get the power. Whenever I started to work in Wolof, how much time do I have? Because I can talk 6 more hours. You know, and my flight is 16:30, so I have.
So you have time.
I have more time. I have more time. But you tell me when.
Yes.
When I started to work in Waldorf school, I thought I will work there because this is a slow school. I thought that's very nice, but they were too fast for me too, so I couldn't stay there. But can you imagine, just some more stories about the dynamic. When I got my first class, they were 7-year-old, wonderful people. And some of them were already able to read, about reading skills, that was one of your goals. Some of them were already able to read the texts on television, you know, which is a good reading skill, because it's fast, you know, somehow. And then they come to me, the fossil. I needed 1 week for the letter R. And now it's a lot to do with the letter R, you know. You have to draw it, and to paint it, and to dance it, and to lift it, and to play the A play and sing the A song. There's so much to do. Then it's Friday before we have started. You know? It's very full of life, but it's not very fast. Because next week is... if you understand what I mean. And now, this resulted in some dynamic, interesting things. The one has to do with the connection. And this is also very important for me, because this is also a problem with standards. When people say, do they learn enough? That is nonsense. Because learning is not a question of amount. Learning is a question of quality, you know. And the first story which came up was about that, because one grandmother, she called me in November, the school started in August. In November, I got a telephone call from one grandmother, of course, a former teacher, and she taught her grandchild to read. And then she said, Godi, I have to tell you, something strange happened the other day. I was reading with my grandchild, as you know, and then suddenly we came to a letter. Now for you it is.
Yes.
And then my grandchild said, sorry grandmother, I cannot read that. And then grandmother said, well now I've been reading it for 2 years. Yes, but we have not danced it yet. A question of connection. It became something abstract. And that is what academics love, this intellectual. If they can cognitive say something, then we think they have learned. But she understood how by feeling, you have to go into it, you have to connect to it, otherwise it's nothing. We have also seen that. All these exams we do with youngsters, we have checked it out in some experiments. If you repeat the same question with the same youngsters, 3 months after, it's empty. Because they just learn for the test. That's it. It does not matter, it doesn't mean anything. They do not need it for anything. You know? And this child already understood. You have to dance the letter first. Otherwise it's nothing. And the second thing which was very wonderful was after Christmas, a little delegation came to me to negotiate. They said, Godi, could we not start with the small letters soon? Then I looked at them and said, yeah, I think you are a little bit small. A little bit too young somehow. And then the reaction was so wonderful. You know, this is this energy. You understand? That they want to go on. This is pedagogy. For me, this is pedagogy. That they want to go on. Otherwise, we always drag them after the ear and say, you should be here now. Instead of let them be in the motor. Every child wants to learn. Every child. Those which do not are either resignated or have lost their self-confidence. Somewhere on the way. Every child wants to learn. This is what I claim. But we need somehow, this I wanted to say in this congregation. No, that's the wrong word. What is that? Not a congregation. In this group of people. Sorry?
Symposium.
Symposium. What does that mean? Does that mean something? It means probably to put together something.
Actually, it's a big word and it means back then in ancient Greece when people actually were gathering, eating, drinking, and talking about
yes,
philosophy.
Symposium is a place where you can eat for free.
Yeah.
What I wanted to tell you, I want somehow to urge a little bit, because it's my privilege as a keynote speaker to give you, to provoke you a little bit, and I urge you to somehow work for the opposite of what we are doing in our time. That we so to say all the time try to standardize, to make a bureaucratic system of control. You know, this is an interesting thing. It's an opposition. It's the opposite thought. We are in a big polarity in our world, the polarity between trust and control. Somehow, I could also say between trust and fear, because it's a little bit a culture of fear. This, when I meet parents, and they always have the big fear: does my child survive? Is my child good enough? Does my, you know, all this is based on fear. While we know it's opposite. We need to trust. And this is a general human approach. I was in Tartu working for some years ago, and I had an audience of 200 people in a kind of a public house, because it's, can I say public house? No? Community house, so I have to be careful. Something public house means also. I'm not so good in English. Yeah, you know what I mean. Before in the morning when I came, there came some people which were somehow administrators of the building, and they said that we are very sorry, but when you have your lecture, there will probably be a wedding in the room beside. We are very sorry. We hope they will not disturb you. And it was completely opposite. I never got such an opening, you know, when I came on the stage. Really an atmosphere. And everywhere I could see all these 200 people were a little bit wet in their eyes. Some had memories, you know, and some had hopes. So they were, and then I could not just ignore this fact because it was so strong in the room. And then I said, could we all try to think a little bit about this couple, this woman and man, which are in the other room, and now they promise each other, I don't know what. Then I thought, well, this is an opportunity for us, because here we are 200 people, school psychologists, teachers, headmasters, school politicians, all kind of important people. We are all specialists in human relations. Could we do something for this couple? And then I got an idea. I said, I thought we could make a quality control paper for married people. A kind of a form, you can see that visually, a kind of a form, where you, so to say, give points to the partner every second month or so. You know? How is the partner in the garage, how in the kitchen, how in the bed, you give points, so to say. And if the summa is a little bit low, they get a free consultation in the family council office or something. And then 200 Estonians laughed. You know it's not easy to make Estonians laugh. And they said, of course we are laughing about it, because this would be outmost stupid. Because we know if those two people shall succeed in keeping together, stay together all their life, they need buckets and buckets of the opposite. They need trust. They need to trust each other. If married people start to control, nothing more grows. No? So you took a telephone. Huh? Who got the telephone? Who was calling? You were not, where were you yesterday? You know, somehow this controlling attitude. And what is most important for married people is, of course, most necessary for children. When I work with children, dear friends, we work with an unknown future. I say that when I come into a room. Often when they are older than class 5, I say, dear children or dear youngsters, it's incredible. Here I meet you, I know nothing about you. I know nothing about your future. But I think in this class is a future prime minister. They giggle a little bit, but only in the beginning. They say, I don't know it. In this class is a girl, she will save 100 human lives in an accident in 20 years. They do not know about it. In this class is the world's next Nelson Mandela. And they have no idea. You know what I try to say? In this class is a boy which will become a wonderful grandfather with a body full of story. And they don't know it. And then it is very serious in the classroom, because suddenly they understand something. And I would wish we also understand something. That there is a future which is incredibly big. And our attitude must be to give an opening for that. To wish this unknown future welcome. Then it's completely stupid that we always look back and say what you have done yesterday. Who cares what you have done yesterday? Only the statistics is interested in that. Because your future is there. With these youngsters we are even, to have to stop now? He did it very nicely. Is that a hangman picture or something? I'm very sorry, I wanted to tell some more stuff. But you got my point. Thank you very much. Is it allowed to bring on the airport? There's nothing terroristic here.
Might be because it may provoke people to create something which they don't want.
That we risk the happiness again. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you also for being here with us today, and it was a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, are there questions? In Estonian, kysymysi, what is question in
We are basically overwhelmed.
Huh?
We are very happy, overwhelmed with your talk. I wanted to ask you, can you make a story in 5 minutes? Any story for a small kid, with their body language and everything.
Once more.
I mean to say, a story can make of 5 minutes a story for the small kid like. Is it as good? Can you?
No, I'm embarrassed. I talk to adults, I don't talk to children. When I talk to children, I need children in front of me.
We are children.
You are not children. Very good. Yeah, no, of course there are a lot of stories, but are there questions? Please?
Yes, do you have any publications in English?
Yeah, no, my first book is now just been finished, the translation. We still look for an editor.
I'm an editor.
Yeah, give me your, you have this. Fine people have good, this, I still have not done that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah? Nothing more to say? Not said?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know whether it is in the brochure or somewhere, but you can find my mail address if you want to have contact or so. I'm always happy for that.
Yeah, please tell it.
Yes.
You have.
Maybe we can
We will share it on classroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please, we will share on.
So, thank you.
Thank you.